Ahmad Kaimuddin, Deputy for Basic Infrastructure, Coordinating Ministry of Infrastructure and Regional Development. Bapak Dipio Saputro, as representative of Ibu Dewi Komistriana, Director General for Human Settlement, the Ministry of Public Works. Bapak Dr. Subekti, Executive Director of the Indonesian Water Supply Association, or Perpapsi. Representatives of the Indonesian Water Utilities, colleagues from Enterprise Singapore, Public Utilities Board, PUB, and Infrastructure Asia. Thank you for inviting me to deliver the opening remarks for today's workshop on water supply management. I would like to acknowledge the organizers, Kemenko Infrabil and Kemenko Infrabil and Enterprise Singapore for putting together this meaningful initiative. I would also like to extend my appreciation to the supporting organizations, Indonesia's Ministry of Public Works, PAMSI, PUB, and Infrastructure Asia for lending your expertise and knowledge to today's event. As a long-standing partner of Indonesia, Singapore is keen to work with Indonesia to promote investments and facilitate collaboration between our businesses in sectors important to both our economies. The water sector is one such area with implications on Indonesia's economic and social development. The World Bank's report, Indonesia Vision 2045 toward water security, highlighted the importance of addressing water-related issues to helping Indonesia achieve its growth targets. The report projected that proactive measures in improving water access could boost GDP by up to 3.2%. Beyond facilitating economic development, water is essential for life and the well-being of people, which explains the Indonesian government's concerted efforts to enhance water security and improve water access. As a water-scarce nation ourselves, Singapore understands the need for efficient and innovative water management to ensure a sustainable future. Despite our limited access to natural freshwater resources, Singapore has developed a comprehensive strategy known as the 4 National TAPs. This encompasses rainwater harvesting, imported water, desalination, and reclaimed water through our New Water program. This multifaceted approach has enabled Singapore to achieve water resilience. While the context in Indonesia and Singapore is very different, dialogue and cross-sharing of experience and ideas between both sides is very useful, will still be useful for Indonesia as well, as it works towards enhancing your water security. So today's workshop builds on the momentum of past exchanges on water between Indonesia and Singapore, including most recently at the Indonesia Water and Wastewater Expo and Forum, organized by PERPAMSI, where PUB shared the Singapore water story. Beyond knowledge sharing between the public sector agencies, the private sector will also have a key role to play in accelerating the development of water infrastructure. Strong presence of Singapore companies in today's workshop, ST Engineering, Bimiontech, Santa, SG Enviro, HydroLeap, and BW Water. This affirms the interest of Singapore companies to learn more about Indonesia's water landscape and participate in its future development. Hopefully, this workshop will result in partnerships that support Indonesia's effort to increase water storage capacity, drinking water pipe network coverage, and the coverage of households with safe drinking water. Moving forward, Enterprise Singapore, PUB, and Infrastructure Asia will work even closer with Kemenko Infrastructure, with the Ministry of Public Works, and with PERPAMSI to facilitate partnerships between Singapore water companies and the relevant stakeholders in Indonesia's water sector, including the various Indonesian water utilities. There will also be future opportunities for the cross-sharing of insights on water through initiatives such as the Singapore Cooperation Program, or the SCP, which offers a range of courses for government officials around the world. The SCP will organize a course on sustainable integrated water resources management in January 2026. And we invite the coordinating ministry and the Ministry of Public Works to send your officials to attend this course. Once again, I want to thank the workshop's co-organizers and supporters for putting together this meaningful platform. I look forward to hearing more from subsequent presenters, particularly Bapak Rahmat, who will be delivering the keynote presentation next and officially opening the workshop. So I'm confident that all of us today will leave the workshop with a much better understanding of the water landscape in Indonesia and how Singapore and Indonesia can work together to contribute to this development. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bapak DCM, for the insightful opening remarks. Kindly back to your seat. Next, to deliver the keynote presentation and officially open this morning's event, let us welcome Bapak Rahmat Kaimudin, Deputy of Basic Infrastructure at the Coordinating Ministry of Infrastructure and Regional Development on stage. Bapak Deputy, the floor is yours. Please give a big round of applause.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank our partners, Enterprise Singapore, and all the guests here, Government of Singapore, through the Embassy, PUB, Infrastructure Asia, and of course, the guests that came from Singapore to Indonesia, as well as our domestic colleagues, my colleagues from the Coordinating Ministry of Infrastructure, Ministry of Public Works, as well as our PAMSI is here. Let me start. I'm not very good with these keynote speeches, or I'm not even an expert anymore. I think there are a lot of people here who will be better actually to describe the situation. Personally, I spent the past 3 years working on energy. And now actually water become our day job in the newly created Coordinating Ministry of Infrastructure. However, after looking into water in the past maybe few months, I realized that maybe this is the commodity that we probably need to spend a lot more attention to. I think like unlike energy that we have to generate, sometimes water we take for granted. We thought it's just there. Maybe not for our colleagues in Singapore, but in Indonesia, people just think that, okay, I'm just gonna drill a well and then I'm just gonna get clean water. But we know that that is not a sustainable way to manage these very, very precious resources. Maybe let me just quickly start about the context of Indonesia, because context is very important when you talk to people who came from different places. Singapore and Indonesia are neighbors, but on some things, we are probably worlds apart. Singapore is maybe almost all 100% urban. Indonesia today maybe about 60% urban. When I was in elementary school, it was 30% urban. So it was shifting for a little bit. GDP per capita in Indonesia is about 5,000. Singapore, I don't know what is today, 50, quite high, right? 280 million people, 150 million live in this not so big island called Java. So Java Island is very unique, has same people of Russia, but maybe the area of England. So this is a very, very big challenge to manage resources in this island. As a result, we are facing different things. We are actually cannot use some tools that is available from other countries. See, we gotta be creative. And therefore, we have to have as many friends, as many people as possible to learn from as many organizations because we then need to pick and choose which well whatever available technologies, available solutions, available policy tools that we can use to ensure that our people get access to these basic commodities, very important things that for life. Maybe this is the first time we specifically focus on okay, Indonesia need to be self-sufficient in water because again we probably took it for granted, but this is one thing that our president highlighted, and that means that we have the political will, political support to do that. Before I was like thinking with my little skepticism, right? Okay, swasembada pangan, swasembada energi, swasembada air. So food, energy, water, self-sufficiency. Okay. I know that we import energy. We export a lot of energy, but we also import energy through mostly oil and LPG. Okay, so I know roughly what to do. Food. We also know that we import some food, especially rice, a lot of sugar, a lot of soybeans. We probably need to think about what to do for that. But water self-sufficiency, it's like, are we importing water? Maybe not, unless we drink San Pellegrino or Fiji water. But in Indonesia, we actually do. But I guess the challenge is about how can we ensure the water is there with the enough quality and quantity when when we need it. And I think today, unfortunately, we are quite far away from that. Indonesia way to look at water resources, maybe, or water management, maybe we can split into three things. One is about conservation of water resources. And of course, that can be a challenge. Some of our land that should be a catchment area now shifted into factories, housing, and whatnot. We need to do something about that. The second thing is that how can we utilize that water? We need to make sure this water is available and then can deliver it, can process it, and it's actually can be delivered to the people that need it, whether it's for drinking, whether it's for farming, and many other things. And again, we need infrastructure. And the last one is about disaster mitigation from water. If you live in Jakarta, we know that Jakarta time to time will face flooding. To do something about that. So today we are also doing something about coastal resilience. Or in Indonesia, the project that we call it Giant Seawall of North Java, right? But that's about coastal resilience. How can we reduce the impact of water utilization, taking water from the ground, abrasion from the sea, to protect our assets, to protect our lives. This will require a lot of technology. This will require a lot of financial resources, and this will require a lot of political support. And political support will need to come from the people's support. So I'm very happy to see a lot of experts here. We're looking forward to have a fruitful discussion, to learn from the people who actually have solved some of these problems. And therefore, with that, maybe let me open this workshop and looking forward for a fruitful discussion today. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Bapak Deputy for your valuable perspective and for setting the tone for today's discussion. We kindly invite Bapak to stay on stage to take a photo session. We also invite Bapak DCM to take a photo together with all the speakers and some representative. And our photographer will help to arrange. Join us. The photo and our team photographer is ready. Ladies and gentlemen, please look toward the camera. We will take the photo on count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Once more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bapak. Yes. Bapak Deputy. Up next, we'll be hearing about how Singapore companies can support the development of Indonesia's water sector from Enterprise Singapore. Please put our hands together to welcome Bapak Togiwe, Regional Director Indonesia at Enterprise Singapore, to share with us about the Singapore water ecosystem and introduce the Singapore water companies. Please give a big
of Ibu Dewi Mistiana, Director General for Human Settlement, Ministry of Public Works, Bapak Dr. Supek, Executive Director of Indonesian Water Supply Association, PAMSI, representatives of the various PDMs, a very warm welcome to you and thank you for joining our session as well, and colleagues from Enterprise Singapore, PUB and Infrastructure Asia. My name is Giwe and I'm the Regional Director of Enterprise Singapore Indonesia, and it's my pleasure today to share a bit more about our water ecosystem. But before that, maybe a little government agencies enterprise development. In addition to supporting Singapore companies to build capabilities, including to innovate and to be more productive, we also support their outward expansion overseas, including to Indonesia. Now today, it is my pleasure to introduce the Singapore ecosystem, as well as the 7 Singapore companies which have flown to Jakarta to learn more about the Indonesian water landscape and exchange views on its development. As DCM had earlier mentioned in his speech, and which PUB I'm sure will reiterate later on, Singapore is a water-scarce nation. And over the decades, this has driven us to invest in diversified water sources, including the 4 national taps. It's also created an impetus for our companies to develop capabilities and technologies to transform water scarcity into resilience. So today in our ecosystem, next slide please, we actually have more than 350 water companies that have established their presence in Singapore and across the value chain. The 7 companies attending today's event actually represent in enabling our vibrant water ecosystem. We work very closely with our water stakeholders like PUB, the lead agency, research institutions, accelerators, industry associations such as the Singapore Water Association, and a network of technology translation centers and consortiums. So it is now my pleasure to introduce the Singapore companies attending today's event to the audience in alphabetical order. So first, I would like to invite Ms. Fiona Rochelle, Business Development Director of BW Water, to present, please. So we'll be presenting in alphabetical order. Fiona, could you please? Maybe you can pass Fiona. Yeah.
Selamat pagi Bapak dan Ibu sekalian. Senang sekali bisa hadir di sini bersama dengan Bapak Ibu. Terima kasih. Thank you for Enterprise Singapore to arrange this event. And perkenalkan, saya Fiona. I am Indonesian and I represent BW Water. We call it here BW Water. Actually, we are EPC specializing in the water and wastewater treatment solutions. We collaborate with the industrial, government, and also the clients, private clients, to ensure their water is clean, safe, and compliant. What is a BW actually? BW is came from the Bergesen and Worldwide. This both is the largest of the shipping company actually in the beginning. One is coming from Hong Kong, which is Worldwide, and the other one is coming from Norway, the Bergesen. So in 2003, Worldwide acquired the Bergesen and they become BW Group, BW Group. And since then, they have many subsidiaries like BW LPG, BW LNG, BW Renewable, BW Digital, and they have us in 2020, BW Water, and we were born in Singapore, and we expand to BW Water Asia. So we have now office in Jakarta, in Thailand, in Philippines, in Penang. We have a workshop in Penang. And also we have BW Water for Europe and also for America. Actually, in Indonesia market is very important for us, because I'm also Indonesian. So we know that we are in some places in Indonesia, we still have we still are facing the water scarcity and also the access. So we hope that if we are here with our existence, we can collaborate and we can support and we can contribute to Indonesia market here, so we can contribute for the clean water processing. We, other than municipal, we support this kind of segmentation. As the EPC of water and wastewater treatment, we are not limiting ourselves into the municipal, but also we can do the water treatment for the other segment like semiconductor. Hopefully later in Indonesia we have a semiconductor. We built the semiconductor wastewater in Malaysia for Infineon, and also we focus on the pulp and paper, mining, oil and gas, and petrochemical. So actually, we are eagerly to collaborate and support wherever the water and wastewater is. We have also in-house engineering. We can do our system design, from the basic design of water and wastewater treatment, and until the PLC and SCADA programming. So basically, as the EPC, we do our own design, then for the construction until the test and commissioning. And here we have also, as an EPC, we provide the end-to-end solution, and we are happy to discuss with you from the beginning, like to understand what kind of water that you need, or what kind of water that you want to treat, and also to understand what kind of scheme that you may prefer. Let's say the EPC or BOT, BOO, or the BOM. We can do also provide the operation and maintenance, and even for the rental, we can provide for you when needed. This is some of our a project that already built and under construction. Especially in Indonesia, we built last year the SPAM Regional Jatiluhur 1, the a big capacity of for 4,750 LPS, which is divided into uh, and the other one in the Cibeet near Kerawang, 350 LPS. This Cibeet is already running in August 2024, and for the Bekasi one, the big one is just December last year, December 2024, and now they are already running and catching the full capacity. And now okay, now we are also under construction for the SPAM in Surabaya, 1,000 LPS. I am already calling with by the IE, so I think I have to end this. Thank you for the session, and we can talk more about the technology and also what you need later after this. Thank you very much. Selamat pagi.
Thank you, Pion. So sorry that we have to cut a very good presentation because we are running short on time. But next, I would like to invite Mo from HydroLead, the CEO of HydroLead, to present. Yeah, Mo, please.
Short again. All right. So firstly, thank you so much for having us here. Thank you so much, Enterprise Singapore, as well as our Indonesian counterparts for having us here. My name is Mo. I'm the founder and the CEO of HydroLead. And with me, I have one of my colleagues, Pak Sarbo, in here. So we'd love to get to know you all a little bit more to understand what can we do for you in Indonesia. So a little bit on the HydroLead side. So probably you can already guess by the name of it. HydroLead. So we set up this company to provide leap and that technology advancement to the water sector. Not that it doesn't exist before. Of course, there's a lot of great technologies out there, but one of the very, very important question that I had very early on was where is that electrochemical technologies in that water ecosystem? Because on the paper, it just sounds so, but with look at the industries, you don't see a lot of that application for it. So that's why I set up HydroLead, and we are very specialized in electrochemistry. So you can already see by the names of them, electrocoagulation, electrooxidation. I'm not going to go through it, but application of this is, so we took this technology from a very, very lab scale. We took it to the pilot, to the commercializations, and we have now proudly have done number of projects across the whole APAC, Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, across the three sectors. Maybe go to the next. Yes, perfect. So this is we can implement them across the wastewater to treat the wastewater without the use of any chemicals. So without use of any chemicals or very energy intensive processes. We can apply that across the water supply. So we help a lot of data centers. We help a lot of organizations to save water and tap lesser on the water supplies because with these technologies, they are achieving a lot more basically cycle of concentration or better water efficiency for a lack of better words. And also even desalination. We just had the short chat with Pak, and Indonesia is okay. Indonesia is growing in all fronts, specifically on the economy side of it, and that will come with a lot of needs for energy and water. And one of the work that we are doing with the Singapore government on the PUB side is we utilize this technology as a pre-treatment for desalination, which reduces the energy consumption and the cost of it for the desalination. So as you can see, it's applicable across the different sectors. We already been doing quite a number of projects in Indonesia, exactly on specifically the first two of it, and we're looking forward to expand it to the salad. Is there any more slide? Perfect. All right. So I don't want to go through a lot of the details of that, but as you can see, all of that achievements can be gotten without the use of any chemicals. So we have done project in Jakarta, Bandung, again across all the different sectors on the wastewater side, both for domestic, industrial, as well as I mentioned it on the water side for supplying it to the data centers, which is has picked up before, but also picking up again significantly in Indonesia. I think that's about it. I'm going to keep it very short before I just caught up. That's about it. Thank you.
And Pak Wahyu, yeah, Sales Marketing Director of Memutech, to present. Pak Wahyu, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi Bapak Ibu semua. Perkenalkan saya Wahyu Kasyanto, di sini mewakili PT Memutech Indonesia. Sebelumnya saya perkenalkan dulu juga hadir founder dan CEO kami, Mr. Tek Yasek. Mohon please stand Mr. Tek. Dan juga mungkin Ibu Irawati di sini, Direktur PT Memutech Indonesia. Thank you for Enterprise Singapore and Indonesia, Mr. Ko and team. For inviting Memutech to join in this event. Maybe we can show our video regarding the Memutech Indonesia, how Memutech Indonesia supply and have the contribution in Indonesia, especially for water supply. So we can run our video, please, gentlemen. Saya bantu Bapak Ibu karena suaranya ada kendala teknis di audio. Jadi PT Memutech ini berdiri dari tahun 1994 di Singapura dan kita dalam bidang atau subsektor BOT maupun dalam bidang atau subsektor BOT maupun EPC. Yang pertama ini adalah proyek kami BOT di Jakarta, di hutan kota Penjaringan dengan kapasitas suplai di 500 liter per detik. Di sini menggunakan teknologi MBBR combine dengan UF untuk suplai air bersih dengan standar air minum. Nah, berikutnya ini adalah EPC kami untuk mengolah salah satu proyek strategis nasional untuk mengolah limbah sewerage system city di Kota Makassar dengan kapasitas 6 karena lokasi di dekat karena lokasi di dekat daerah komersial. Ini berikutnya adalah investasi di Pekanbaru. Jadi di sini kita olah kapasitas air dengan ultimate kapasitas 750 liter per detik. Ini adalah satu proyek KPBU Bapak Ibu dengan upgrade di 500 plus ditambah dengan pembuatan sistem baru WTP 250 liter per detik. Nah, berikutnya adalah di Palembang. Ini adalah salah satu EPC di Palembang yang menggunakan sistem teknologi atau anaerob buffer reactor, jadi anaerob system. Tapi dengan biological trickling, ini untuk kapasitas olahan di 20.000 meter kubik per hari. Ini juga salah satu itu fundingnya dari pemerintahan Australia. Di Jambi, di mungkin Pak TV udah paham sekali dengan teknologinya, karena kebetulan Pak Kabale dulu Pak Kabale Jambi, Pak TV ini. Jadi ini di Bali yang sudah kita selesaikan, kapasitas di 7.600 meter kubik per hari. Sistem yang digunakan relatif sama dengan Makassar, yaitu MBBR sistem. Sistemnya dibagi menjadi 4 train, masing-masing kapasitas kurang lebih 10 meter kubik per hari. Nah, berikutnya adalah beberapa portofolio dari Memiontek yang ada di Singapura. Yang pertama adalah sistem floating wastewater treatment plant di Semako Island. Di Jurong untuk reklamasi, sistem reklamasi kapasitas di berikutnya ada di Peranci di 82.000 Bapak Ibu. Nah, saat ini juga kami sedang construction untuk proyek di Changi C2C project dengan kapasitas olahan di atas 10.000 liter per second. Mungkin jadi kami dari Memiontek memiliki teknologi dari untuk mengolah berbagai varian sistem air, sumber air, baik itu air bersih maupun air dari berbagai macam sumbernya kita bisa olah menjadi air bersih, dan juga kita bisa olah menjadi air limbah. Dan ini adalah sistem yang terintegrasi antara pengolahan air bersih dan air limbah sampai dengan tahap recycle. Jadi kami memberikan tawaran teknologi yang near to zero discharge. Jadi kita benar-benar mengefisiensikan penggunaan air baku yang saat ini semakin hari kualitasnya makin memburuk dan juga jumlahnya juga semakin terbatas. Mungkin itu teknologi yang kami tawarkan saat ini. Dan Memiontek sendiri memberikan layanan atau memberikan kontribusi dalam bentuk 4 sektor bisnis. Ini pertama adalah di SEPC, Total Solution Engineering Procurement Construction. Jadi kita melakukan konstruksi. Yang kedua ada operation maintenance. Yang ketiga investasi dalam bentuk BO, BOT, TOT dan sebagainya. Dan yang keempat kita menawarkan dalam bisnis after sales service atau trading untuk equipment supply dan consumable chemical. Mungkin itu yang bisa saya sampaikan Bapak Ibu. Terima kasih banyak waktunya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih Pak Wahyu. Next, I would like to invite Pak Dimas, the country manager of ST Engineering, to deliver his presentation. Pak Dimas, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam kenal Bapak Ibu dan sekalian, nama saya Dimas Andi Laksono, saya adalah country manager dari ST Engineering Singapura. Jadi untuk Bapak-Bapak dan Ibu sekalian yang mungkin belum familiar. So ST adalah kita own 51% by Temasek, 49%-nya by pabrik. So we can consider kayak BUMN-nya dari negara Singapura. So our role biasanya di Singapura adalah lebih kepada attached ke government. So that's why our name is ST Engineering, Singapore Technology Engineering. So our mindset biasanya melakukan suatu review dari isu-isunya Bapak Ibu sekalian punya, dan kemudian kita mereview, melakukan desain dan juga melakukan implementasinya. Kita teknologi, Pak. In principle kalau kita bicara water supply, ada dua hal. Satu adalah AMI, Advanced Material. Tapi yang paling saya ingin tekankan adalah kita adalah salah satu company yang kita bisa comply dengan any kind of connectivity. So kita bicara AMI di teknologi saat ini ada yang menggunakan NB-IoT, ada yang menggunakan LoRa, and so on. So our focus is lebih kepada on the pilar yang ketiga atau pada platform. So di sini key point-nya adalah bila mana di kota-kota Bapak Ibu sekalian yang sudah melakukan implementasi dari AMI, kita tidak ada niatan untuk mengganti. Jadi kita bisa melakukan integrasi dari existing AMI yang sudah Bapak pernah lakukan sebelumnya. Karena lagi-lagi kalau di Singapura sama berbagai macam brand, berbagai macam connectivity, we can adopt and we can integrate it. Nah ini adalah satu solusi. Yang kedua, yang biasa kita butuhkan di dalam suatu untuk water supply adalah kita bicara water leakage. Nah ini, so any leakage biasanya menciptakan suatu sound. Nah our platform melakukan identifikasi dari pin A, pin B, kemudian mengkalkulasi dari mana titik posisi bocornya. Dan ini yang kita sudah implementasikan di Singapura, dan kita bisa successfully deteksi kebocoran dari coverage area 3 sampai 5 meter. Karena izin kalau kita bicara kebocoran dari pipa di Indonesia, yang masalah itu bukan yang ke atas. Kalau bocor ke atas gampang. Bonding ada yang banjir sedikit, pesain orang, selesai. Yang jadi isu adalah yang ke bawah. Jadi we will never know sebenarnya bocor atau tidak. So our technology kita bisa membantu Bapak Ibu sekalian untuk melakukan deteksi dari water leakage. Tapi above the all, yang ingin saya tekankan sebenarnya in terms of technology, kalau kita bicara water supply management di Indonesia, many. Yang selalu jadi isu adalah skema bisnis Bapak Ibu sekalian. Bagaimana kita bisa melakukan implementasi yang secara masif dan wide, tapi izin kita bisa menjadikan suatu suatu kerjasama yang jangka panjang, atau kita bicara sustainability dari supply dari water Bapak Ibu sekalian. Nah di sini yang mungkin saya ingin banyak berfokus dan berdiskusikan sama Bapak Ibu sekalian lebih kepada skema bisnisnya. Karena lagi-lagi kalau kita bicara water leakage, yang saya tahu izin biasanya detailer kepada EMI water meternya, dan kemudian menggunakan revenue sharing base. Nah ini sometimes can be fit, sometimes juga nggak bisa fit. Kenapa? Karena sangat depends dari kondisi dari pendistribusi dan tingkat bocor Bapak sekalian. So this is maybe yang akan kita lebih banyak diskusi lebih lanjut. Nah in terms of the reference, ST Engineering we deployed many around the world. Kita dengan one sensor boleh bilang sudah kurang lebih 12 juta sampai 15 juta sensors. Mungkin itu dulu yang bisa saya sampaikan. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Pak Dimas. Next, presenting for SG Enviro here, we have Dr. Wendy Tu, Senior Business Development and Process Manager of SG Enviro.
Officials, colleagues.
I'm Dr. Wendy. It is my honor here to present SG Enviro. Our mission here is simple, ambitious. Treat, reclaim, and turn today's waste into tomorrow's resource. Founded in Singapore in 2018, SG Enviro has strengthened our position in advanced wastewater treatment and water reclamation with subsidiaries in Indonesia and Malaysia. We specialize in tackle difficult to treat wastewater, high COD, industrial effluent, heavy metals, colors, and other persistent pollutants. Our core technology,
The proven plasma nano advanced oxidation combines modular plasma generator with nanobubble oxidation, enable fast and energy efficient breakdown of persistent organic matters. This has been deployed over 20 industrial installations across Southeast Asia and recognized with the Outstanding Achievement Award and Green Innovation Water Solutions Award in 2023. What truly set us apart is that our water as a service model. We partner with our client for the entire life cycle, design and build, with tailoring our solutions to each site's requirement. Operation and maintenance. Many plants have been under 24/7 operation in the past years under our direct operation. Upgrading and retrofitting, turning underperforming plants into high-performing assets, and chemical and consumable supply. We supply reliable supply with local support. Let me show you two examples. Petrochemical wastewater, oil and gas industry. At a live operating petrochemical plant, we installed a 6,000 meter cube per day plasma nano advanced oxidation system for phenol, sulfide, and COD reduction. Despite the stringent requirement at the site, ATAX Zone 2 explosion-proof requirement, we achieved effluent phenol less than 0.2 ppm, sulfide less than 0.2, and COD less than 100. And this plant has been under our direct operation for the past years. Another example, waste-to-energy plant retrofitting. In a biogas facility processing chicken manure and food organic waste, the plant has been underperforming during the past years. We retrofitted the plant, optimized the operation, and now it is producing electricity with 60% of treated effluent recycling for on-site use. Through PTSG Enviro Ecotech Indonesia, where my colleague is also here, we bring these technologies and services closer to municipality and utilities, combining our international expertise with the local execution. Our goal is to help Indonesia meet water quality target, expand water reuse, reduce environmental impact. All this with predictable life cycle cost. At SG Enviro, we believe water is not a just utility. It is a renewable resource. We're looking forward to partner with you to create a sustainable water environment.
Thank you, Dr. Wendy. The final presenter here will be Pak Ayub, the sales engineer of Stricta. Pak Ayub, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi Bapak dan Ibu semuanya. Perkenalkan saya Ayub Wijayanto, representatif dari Santar International Group. Pertama-tama saya ucapkan terima kasih untuk kesempatan yang diberikan untuk kami dapat memperkenalkan perusahaan kami. Santar International Group berdiri tahun 1996. Dengan portofolio kami menjangkau teknologi membran, food and nutrition, bioteknologi, dan juga specialty chemicals. Kantor pusat kami ada di Singapura, dan kita ada 5 fasilitas produksi di China. Untuk saat ini kami fokus di proses parasi dan juga water treatment untuk memberikan solusi kepada seluruh pelanggan. Dan selama hampir 30 tahun, kami telah menangani lebih dari 2.000 proyek untuk proses parasi dan juga 400 proyek untuk water treatment. Dengan total air yang kami olah mencapai 4 juta meter kubik per hari. Kami menawarkan produk elemen seperti membran filter, termasuk juga membran reverse osmosis, membran ultrafiltration, dan juga untuk satu sistem klip ataupun operasional tergantung dari dari permintaan dari customer. Dan proyek kami telah menjangkau ke berbagai negara seperti yang ada di layar ini. Dan berikut juga referensi customer-customer kami. Dan dari pengalaman dan teknologi yang kami miliki, kami harap dapat membantu Indonesia untuk ke depannya, terutama terkait dengan layanan dan Dan ini adalah beberapa teknologi yang kami tawarkan. Seiring dengan pertumbuhan industri di Indonesia dan juga pertumbuhan populasi penduduk, tidak bisa dipungkiri bahwa kebutuhan air proses atau air bersih itu juga meningkat. Oleh karenanya, kami siap untuk membantu menyediakan air bersih, baik dari air baku maupun dari air dari proses recycling. Dan selain itu kami juga membantu pelanggan kami untuk mengolah limbah domestik melalui STP atau Sewage Treatment Plant untuk memastikan air yang dibuang ke lingkungan telah memenuhi standar baku yang ditetapkan. Dan kami berpengalaman untuk proyek BOT, Build Operate Transfer di China. Dan kurang lebih kami sekarang punya 30 proyek di 8 provinsi dan jumlah pengolahan air limbah sekitar 1 juta meter kubik per hari. Lalu kemudian terkait dengan proyek sustainability, kami mempunyai solusi proyek recycle air limbah menjadi air baku ataupun mengolah air baku di industri untuk bisa dipakai. Dan salah satu proyek recycle kami di China itu yang paling besar adalah kapasitas 48.000 meter kubik dalam recycle. Dan mungkin sedikit memperkenalkan salah satu paten teknologi dari Sartar, yaitu adalah grafit membran. Jadi grafit membran ini adalah perpaduan dari grafit dan juga PVDF membran yang biasa dipakai untuk ultrafiltration ataupun juga untuk teknologi MBR. Jadi dengan perpaduan ini kami dapat meningkatkan flow dari proses dan ketahanannya juga lebih bagus daripada membran PVDF biasa. Dan ini kita juga dari teknologi yang kami punya sudah banyak membantu customer kami untuk bisa Dan ini adalah beberapa case study dari proyek-proyek kita yang sudah berjalan dan yang terbaru juga. Yang pertama adalah pengolahan air limbah di industri data center. Ini ada di Malaysia ya untuk proyeknya. Dan kami membantu customer untuk bisa merecycle limbah domestik di data center ini dengan kapasitas 20.000 meter kubik per hari. Teknologi yang kami pakai di sini adalah MBR dan juga reverse osmosis. Dan salah satu inovasi kami adalah yang di sebelah kanan, ini adalah new water box. Jadi konsep pengolahan air dalam kontainer, terutama untuk kapasitas-kapasitas yang kecil seperti itu. Jadi customer tinggal plug and play saja air limbah yang akan diolah, semuanya sudah tersedia di dalam kontainer. Jadi termasuk juga automation system dan lain-lainnya. Dan untuk proses ini kita ada contoh di Malaysia dengan pemerintah Malaysia mengolah air limbah domestik untuk menjadi air bersih. Mungkin itu dulu. Kami kalau misalkan ada pertanyaan bisa diskusi lebih lanjut. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Pak Ayu. I think we can always continue the discussion later, over lunch during the networking session. So that's all the company presentations. And as you can see, the companies really represent a wide range of capabilities from Singapore. So we do look forward to engaging and exchanging views with our partners, coordinating Ministry of Infrastructure and Regional Development, Ministry of Public Works, PAMSI, as well as all of you representatives of the PDEMs, subsequently during the discussions, the Q&A, and of course the networking lunch. Terima kasih banyak. Thank you.
Thank you, Bapak QA and Singapore company's representative. Up next, Indonesia's Ministry of Public Works will be sharing with us about water supply projects in Indonesia. Please put our hands together to welcome Bapak Dibyo Saputro, representative of Director General for Human Settlement, Ministry of Public Works on stage. Please give a big round of applause.
Cek ya. Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I represent. May I use my maybe because it's too far from my check. Today I will represent. I represent this is Dewi Kristianawati, present. Presentation is about competition and management. Maybe I will present it in English, maybe in bahasa. Okay, today I will present you can say my wastewater company from Singapore. Maybe what I will show you data will give information how we manage the water and wastewater in Indonesia. Next, can I use this? We have Astacita. Astacita is in mission by the President and Vice President of Indonesia, especially on Swasembada Air, which is water self-sufficiency. And then this regarding water and wastewater, we are attached on the Astacita 2 and Astacita 8, which is to strengthen the country security defense system and most important in our job is to self-sufficient input energy and water. And then Astacita 6 is building from the village and from the bottom of the as we already know, Pak Deputy already said that our condition is not good as Singapore, so we have to deal with that kind of. And then our condition right now for the water, we try to increase the pipe water network in 2025, 28.2%, and then our target in 2029 is 40.2%. And also to increase the percent of household served by safety managed water from 33% to 42.56% in 2029. This household served by safety managed water is not always pipe water, because in Indonesia we said the distribution of drinking water, we said from the piping connection, we still have individual sources. So this safety managed water could be pipe and also individual from well, cell well, deep well, and etc. And also on wastewater, we try to decline the critical land area, and then to increase the percentage of household having access to safe sanitation, and also reducing number of open defecation in open places. And this aim, especially already mentioned by Memiantek, working. I privately working with the Memiantek during the construction of sewage water in Jambi. Next. From the previous slide, we make another calculation. We have some kind of integrated data. From our data, we already know that the access to pipe water is already achieved 30.12%. So actually, is fulfill the target from 2025, but we still have a far target from to our target 2029, which is still 10.8%, 10.08%, and equivalent with 9.9 million house connection. And then for the safety managed water access, our achievement in 2023 is the study held by the Papanas, still 20.49%. We still have a lot of gap, which is 22.51%. This is this two kind of this two target is quite homework, big homework for us, because it's kind of we have to jump from the previous program to this kind of target. I think it's quite difficult, but we try our best how to fulfill the target. And then from the domestic wastewater, we achieved in 2024 is still 7 million household, and then our target is 30%, which is 20 million household. Our gap is 30 million house connection. In the last 5 years, we have few wastewater infrastructure built in Indonesia, and our problem is the whole host connection of the household quite slow. For example, what already I already mentioned in Jambi, we have it's just maybe less than 1,000 house connection. Besides that, we already know that the area, half of the area is commercial area. Actually, it's not quite difficult to emphasize people to connect the house, but maybe the local government has another priority, so the finance is not fully support on that program, but instead of that, they put it on other maybe those kind of condition will be interesting by of the company right, in here to do some kind of collaboration with the central government or local government to increase the host connection, wastewater or drinking water connection. Next. This is existing model of drinking water BUMDs. Maybe later on, Pak Subeki will explain brief detail. I just inform you briefly. Our business models actually is these two things. Yeah. First, we manage good water and then drinking water. The good water is just few institution. We call it UPDDs, and then we have also BUMDs. From the drinking water is quite large, so quite many of them. Yeah, we have 364 BUMDs, consist of 13 Perseroda, 271 Perumdam, and then 110 PDAM. So this kind of business model, maybe we will try to adjust which one is convenient to do the maybe collaboration with the private sector to solve one of the problem. Whether it's leakage in RW or maybe the capacity, increases of the capacity, or maybe to increase the coverage. Next. This is our condition summary of national water development in 2024. We have this problem 400 PDMs, the healthy one still 65%, and then the less healthy 24%, and then sick condition maybe this the definition is sick is 10%, and the full cost recovery is just 54%, and then non FCR is 46%. Maybe Victor will explain why PTM mix with no FCR still survive. Yeah, because if we see the comparison in here, the healthy one is 65%, and then the FCR is 54%. It's quite make some for me should be some question. How is it possible that the healthy PDM doesn't have FCR? But it will be explained maybe better by Pak Becky because we already know that the investor maybe we will take a look of the whether the institution healthy or not, whether the water tariff is enough or not, because few times I contribute on the study of PC, FCB. The problem is always how many tariff the people will pay when we join together with the private sector. Next. This is one of our plan to fulfill the target of Astacita. We try to push the water transformation plan. This plan is quite difficult for us to, not quite difficult, it's quite challenging for us because we have to switch our model on the management of drinking water from the previous one into the one. So we have a lot of to do. The two main point is the determination of pipeline network span as a national strategic interest. So if it considered as national strategic interest, then the central government will have possibility to strengthen the institution and also maybe will give a bigger foundation, give a bigger fund for this project. And then the implementation of tariff centralization. Yeah, from the previous slide, I already explained that the FCR is not of the institution. So if the tariff is centralized, then maybe it is possible to make sure that every PDMs for the institution is FCR. And then this kind of regulation changes will be prepared to support this water transformation. Next. This is one of the example project that we already finished. We had just finished the feasibility study. So we already know that one of an important check on the drinking water system is water resources. So in here we have we have a Jelagum water system. This is in Central Java. It will serve Demak Regency, Grobogan Regency, and Semarang City. The total capacity is 1,000 liter per second. It will supplied by the Jelagum dams. From the feasibility study, we already find out that this kind of system is possible to implement it in the coming year, but we still have to do the feasibility study and then detail engineering design to make sure whether the system will be accepted by the local government and then by the community, and also has interesting benefit maybe to attract the private sector to fund this project. So this next, we have this funding option. So one is fully independent government. This is we usually separate the job desk with the institution, still in the Ministry of Public Work, by the different sector, the also water resources by the Directorate General of Water Resources, and then the production unit by us, the Directorate General of Settlement, and then the distribution and the services by the local government. And then the next option, we can try the BOT and on the through the distribution unit, or maybe the BOT until the production unit. So this kind of option is open, is possible to do, but still we or that still we have try to make some adjustment on the feasibility study. Next. This the same scheme. So actually with this kind of option, we already know whether this system is good enough to funded only by the central government and the government, or maybe we can ask private sector to join with us to working on this area. Thanks. Thank you. I think that's our presentation. Sorry for the lack of information, because that what we can show you, because it's not everything can be shown on detail. Maybe later on, if we already finish the feasibility study and then detail engineering design, maybe we already agreed on the process funding. We will. Thank you. Terima kasih. Kami akhiri. Bila itu wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Bapak Dibio Saputro. We will now open the floor for questions and answer. If you do have any question, please raise your hand and our team will assist you with the microphone. Is there any question from here or maybe from the participant who joined online? Please. Is there any question from the floor to the Minister of Public Works?
Hello, thank you so much for that presentation and a lot of information. I can see that there are both sectors, water and wastewater. I may know from the ministry itself, which one is the main focus for intervention? Do you see, I can see the gaps that you pointed out correctly on the side and wastewater, but where is exactly the main focus and resources are gonna flow into?
Yeah. I think it's not compatible. It's what is, but I think it's more easier for us to fulfill the target from the drinking water, because we already switched the habit of the wastewater. I think we still can rely on the individual system, and then the cost of the construction for the wastewater is quite higher than the drinking water, because we already we have to work on the city area. When compared to drinking water, we can work in the rural area. But with your question, I think it's not comparable if we're talking about the possibility funding for the infrastructure. I think drinking water is we have bigger funded drinking water than, but I think that kind of target maybe next year that can change, because we already have a few wastewater project in Indonesia still working, for example in Jakarta, and then for the coming years, maybe start with 2025 in 3 big city in Indonesia, in Mataram, Pontianak, also Semarang. And I'm sure few of the company already commit with that project. Maybe Mimiantech, I'm sure that Mimiantech will pat with that kind of project, and I hope our input during our experience in Jambi will be implemented so the system more efficient and
I just got one follow-up question. Thanks for that. Is you mentioned one of the barriers is definitely is the funding side. But do you think there's any other reasons for it? Because Indonesia actually is a very unique market, and because of that growth and potential that it has, from outside it is very attractive for a lot of investors to come in as a BOT. But do you think is there any other hindering causes for this investment to not flow in?
Yeah, from my experience, maybe sometime during the study, they're not deep enough to go to the social. And the project implemented, the social is short, send that thing before, and then the government socialization again, and it will cut the check. But I think if the feasibility study done with them, that should be done, find out what is the community want, and then how the community sees the project. I think it will erase not only the problem, but the project will be easier. Thank you.
Is there any more questions for the session? We open for two questions. Okay.
Terima kasih Bapak. Kalau yang saya tanyakan adalah dari proyek-proyek yang tadi Bapak jelaskan, apakah itu apakah itu akan dan khususnya juga untuk yang tempat pada Semarang.
Ya, belum ditetapkan solusi mereka nanti setelah cek ya, kalau saat ini sementara ini karena beberapa wilayah tersebut, maka diupayakan siapkan rencananya, siapkan rencana sudah pas nanti ya, disebutkan kalau ini kan kita sudah buat pra-MS-nya, kemudian dari pra-MS kita lihat memang potensi, nanti baru dilanjutkan berikutnya ini dan diskusi yang tadi disampaikan. Misalnya ternyata ada yang berminat, mungkin mereka kita minta untuk buat kajian sendiri, ya perencanaan. Kalau misalnya nanti baik antara APBN dan swasta, yang nanti kita akan memutuskan mana yang akan ditangani oleh swasta, mana yang kita di APBN ada mekanisme apa namanya perintah. Jadi misalnya kalau kita jalankan BPTU terus kemudian tarif tinggi, ada perintah yang tujuannya untuk mengurangi tarif tersebut, tapi investasinya
Terima kasih Bapak atas pemaparan yang telah disampaikan. Mohon izin Pak, sebenarnya ada pertanyaan dari Zoom. Apa boleh dibacakan? Dari PDAM Sumber Sejahtera Bangkalan ingin bertanya apakah ada solusi untuk daerah yang kekeringan sedangkan lokasi sumber air terlalu jauh dan elevasi yang berubah-ubah.
Eh, ya, ya ini karena ya ini jawabannya normatif ya, jawabannya normatif. Secara prinsip salah satu tujuan dari SPAM regional adalah untuk mengakomodir kondisi-kondisi yang seperti itu. Jadi ada wilayah sumber air baku yang cukup, tapi dia apa namanya, sedangkan ada wilayah lain yang tidak memiliki sumber air baku, ya, bisa sungai yang besar ya, sistem sepanjang tahun bisa sudah dibangunkan di sana. Untuk yang di Bangkalan, mungkin wilayah yang dimaksud dia tidak memiliki sumber air baku sendiri. Otomatis yang dilakukan pertama kali adalah mengidentifikasi apakah ada sumber air baku terdekat dari lokasi tersebut. Misalnya terdekat di sini masih ratusan kilo, nanti akan coba dikaji lagi bagaimana kalau sistem tersebut dibangun secara regional. Ya, biaya investasi tidak ditujukan spesifik hanya untuk satu wilayah itu saja, tapi dilakukan bersama juga untuk wilayah lain, sehingga tarif juga akan lebih dibandingkan kita spesifik wilayah.
Bapak, boleh beri tepuk tangan yang meriah. Bapak Ibu, please give a big round of applause. Kami persilahkan untuk Bapak Dibio Saputro untuk kembali ke tempat. The next segment on the priorities of Indonesia's water utilities will be led by Bapak Dr. Subekti, Executive Director of Indonesian Water Supply Association Perpamsi. Please put our hands together to welcome Bapak Dr. Subekti on stage for the sharing.
Good morning. Lokasi dari Singapura. Rekan-rekan seperti 15 menit saya diharapkan memberikan presentasi prioritas. Tadi Pak Rahmat Kaimuddin, Pak Tibio sudah menjelaskan bagaimana ini adalah apa yang dikerjakan oleh kita depan security, food security, energy security, and water security. This is the target of the pipe taking from 28% until 40%. The target is very, very ambitious. That's why we have transforming business as usual. We have business as usual. Next. So today I would like to present. This is right. What's Perpamsi or issues of priority and what next. Next. This is Perpamsi, founded in 1972, and our member is not only water utility, also from the industry. We have 445 water utilities and 81 industry. And this is our progress. We call the Solidarity Partnership Program. We have JD. Also, Solidarity Partnership Program is the water operator partnerships. We have long relationship with Ryan, and also we have the seminar, conference, and webinar. Actually, we have a monthly webinar now, the 80 series of webinar. Next, and this is our BUD. This is Pak Hasanuddin is chairman of the board of supervisory, and this is chairman of the Perpamsi, Pak Rino, Pak Kusbali, and daily activity is me as an executive director. Next. And this is the affiliation of the Propamsi. We have the Education Foundation, we have the Water Academy, we have the professional certification body, and shareholder of the Indonesia Water and Wastewater Pension Fund, and this one is Wastewater Operator Association for Kalimantan. Also our affiliation, and the last is Gensi. We have Pak Teddy as a managing director, Bandung Gensi as head of the Perpapsi Gensi for. Next, this is our program summary. We have a scholarship. We have this is the number, and we have operator partnership, not only international, also the national. We have until now we have 123 couple that are mentor and mentee. For example, like Bandung Water Supply as a mentor, and water utility mentee coming from the work and partnership. And we have also the collaboration with the people in the industry. We have the pipeline planning. This is a collaboration with the industry and the association. Respect and Chita. We have training in pipeline. This is a very, very good collaboration. Next. And yes, this is last June. We have Indonesia Water and Wastewater Influent Forum. And this is Agus Haye, recent all of things. So all the topic is talking about the transportation. Why? Yeah. I will show later the figure of the why we have transport. Next, this is the number of event. This is the 80 growth. I think hopefully that's the next event, because this is the every 2 years agenda of the Water Association. We can collaborate with the top. I think this is a good next. And this is the international foundation. Currently, we have member of the GOPA, so currently member of the National Association, chairman of CCU, and this is the partner of the association. So we collaborate with the another NGO, like Water Power Bank, Australia. Next. Okay, the second is we are talking about the performance. Next. This is the performance. That's the revenue. Still very low. 1.5 trillion rupiah. 1.5 billion US. So the EBITDA, the profit is also very small. In percentage around 10%, and EBITDA also still very low. So it means that's the profitability is still low. So this is the capacity, and this is the number of the connection, 15.8 million connection, and the coverage is still very low. 70%. This is our member mostly in so, but if you are the number of participants not only in the urban. So NRW is 3.5%. Average tariff is 6,000. Yeah. Next. And okay, if you there are two types of the regional public company. We call the Prudda and the Perseroda. Perseroda is really owned by not Okay. Persero Jaya owned by more than one local companies, and Perumda only owned by one local companies. So this is the difference of the Persero and next. And this is the strategic issue. The first strategic issue is the economy of scale. Mostly of the water utility is running under economy of scale. This is the number of the house connection. House connection is 1,106. This is 103 water utility. So this is very, very difficult how to maintain, how to operate this water utility because the economic scale is very, very low. Next. This is the water tariff. Yes, that's the increase. Compound average growth rate tariff is 5%, but the tariff still low. So that's why the full cost recovery is still under 50%. So mostly the water operator is running with non-cost recovery. So tariff is still very low. By regulation, tariff must full cost recovery. Next. So this is the third issue, that's the profitability. This is the sales, 25 trillion rupiah, and this is the earning after tax is 1.25 trillion. The profit margins still not interesting. Still not sexy actually. So the profitability is still very, very low. Next. So this is leverage. Leverage is very, very under leverage. So you see, this is the asset, total assets, and mostly all the finance by the companies. This is the debt, only 5 trillion. So the leverage is very, very low. So why? So the debt equity ratio only 1.1. This is very low. And why? So the first is what the asset collateral. It's very difficult. The asset of utility is coming from debt. So the second is political risk. Political, so not supported by the local politician mostly. So the third is regulation on the tariff. Still, cost tariff is still very low. Still, lender is. So number four is bad experience. So in 1890, all the financing using the foreign debt. So have a problem on the utilities. So that's why this is very bad experience. So this is the reason why the leverage is very, very low. Next. And the fifth issue is NRW. So this is the figure in 5 years. The NRW is remain stable. So if we divide, this is the number of the connection. That's the good ones. If water utility, that's the old customer 50 until 100. This is 27%. As more hundreds, thousand house connection is increasing. Why? Because mostly in the big city, asset is the aging asset. For example, Pak Esa from the Pamjaya. So Pamjaya, Pak Budi, also from the Pamjaya. Pamjaya, the networks, length of the network is 12 800 kilometers. and 62% of the asset is more than 30 years. So mostly the asset is it also happen in Semarang and big city like Surabaya. So that's why Pak Nanang from the Surabaya last year replaced the asset more than 150 kilometers. So renewal of the assets. I think this is a big challenge that's we are talking about next. So this is the coverage. Coverage is decreasing. So actually, this is for the pipe and mostly in urban. So why? Yes, there is additional customer. Additional customer. And yearly around 600 until 700,000 new customer. But still below compared with the population growth. So that's why the coverage is decreasing. So next. This is the last issue, the digitalization. Yes, that's it is the utilities more complex, the demand, validation, all complex. So that's why all the water literal have data, have information for decision making. Yes. So what the priority? Yes, this is the issue. And issue 1, 2, and 3. This is the government's now preparing, we call it the transformation. But they will also preparing, set up the task force for the transformation. So hopefully the transformation can solve the economic upscale, but at time also allow. So another issue next. This is the because of the leverage is very low, so that's why we also encourage to have the utility to self-financing. So I'm happy that Surabaya also renewal the asset, so also the financing. By money, around money. So I think this is good, and also trying and financing from the SME also. So this is, I think this is good for the healthy company, also for the healthy company, promote the business to business contracts. What's the difference business to business contract and PPP project? The PPP project is the parties is private company and government. And business to business is water utility and private. And PPP, this is yes, there's government have incentive like viability cap fund. If not feasible, so government will inject. But if business to business, there is no government guarantee. So this is difference. And I think the biggest contract is awarded 3 years ago in Jakarta, around 1.6 billion US dollar. So I think this is the biggest business to business contract in Indonesia. Also, last month, also awarded in Tangerang Selatan, south of Tangerang. So, the project is around $1 million. So around defines around 600 billion US million US. Okay, so the second is NRW. So we promote also the performance-based contracts. Bandung City also example in performance-based contract. So Tasik also has experience in performance-based contract for the non-revenue product. Also, this is the expansion in coverage. Also, this is next. And what next? Next. Okay, this is the regulation. Pak Debyo mentioned that this is the value chain of the water utility, from the water treatment, distribution, and services. And based on the regulation, that's the private company can manage this, can operate this, but using BOT, BOO, or something else. But in this area, the private company also can contribute with, we call the performance-based contract. For example, in Jakarta, Jakarta is actually divided by two contracts. For this one, the contract is BOT contract. And for the distribution, the contract is similar with the leasing, financial lease. So installment. So the private company can invest and install, after that transfer to water utility, and water utility will pay depend on the contract actually and ability to pay. So this is so for the this is the difference of the PPP and business to business. This is the regulation for the B2B. So under the government regulation 54, this is the talking about the local government owned company, and after that must be a schedule using the company regulation. So to execute the B2B, so the water utility has to have the company regulation because it's possible. Next. Okay, next. Okay, so this is, for example, the potential. This is Pam Jaya. Pam Jaya's coverage is with 45%. This is the coverage. And this is the EBITDA, earning before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. It means that's the good EBITDA means so good for the private company. So this is why the Pam Jaya promotes the contract with the B2B because the EBITDA is good and the coverage is still very low. So the second is Surabaya. The coverage is almost 100%, not 100%. So the EBITDA is good. EBITDA is good and coverage is 100%. So this is also still possible to renewal the asset. I don't know the asset now is also aging asset also because Nanak also spend a lot to renewal the asset. Last year is 150 kilometers. I think this is also the potential for the business to business context. And the good EBITDA and performance contracts. Tangerang Regency, rehabilitation, operating, operate, and transfer. Also concession. Concession is all PPP projects. Okay, next. Okay, so this is the map. This is the graph. That's this one. It's better because the net margin is bigger and EBITDA also bigger. So this way we have difficulties. Also this area, but in 40, that's the profit margin is positive, but EBITDA still positive. So this is So that's why we have transport. Because we have this is job of government actually. So yes, we have the blue one here. There is 215 that have a profit margin. Also have a positive earning before interest and debt. So this area can looking for the alternative financing, business to business contract. Yes, that's with all stakeholders, not only government, business, also community, also university, also the banks. So this is that's makes that the water and sanitation becoming the sexy sector. Because currently it's still not sexy. Okay, next. Okay, terima kasih. Thank you.
Terima kasih Bapak Dr. Subukti. Mohon izin untuk tetap di tempat, Pak. We will now open the floor for questions and answer. If there is any question from the floor or maybe from participant who joining online, please raise your hand. For Bapak Dr. Subukti from Perpanti. Yes.
Just know what is the portion of non-domestic and domestic? In the future, is domestic side.
Okay, so based on the regulation that's in local government managed by the local government company, beat up, and we can also serve not only domestic, also non-domestic industries. So based on the tariff regulation, cross subsidy of tariff, mostly the non-domestic is subsidy. So that's why the tariff is very low. So if the private company willing to have business with the non-domestic, it's okay. The tariff is not zero. Tariff is not zero.
Terima kasih. Pak, ada pertanyaan lagi? Kami berikan satu kesempatan lagi bagi penanya yang ada di ruangan untuk give one more questions. Bapak Dr. Subukti, if there is any questions?
Kalau nggak jelas ini teman-teman saya nanti yang bantu jawab.
Ya. Mungkin ada perwakilan Perkomsi yang ingin menanyakan juga. Sudah cukup? Baik, terima kasih. Boleh beri tepuk tangan yang meriah untuk Bapak Dr. Subukti. Terima kasih Bapak. We kindly invite you back to your seat. Indeed, there will be many opportunities for Singapore and Indonesia to collaborate more closely in the water sector. Up next, we would like to invite Bapak Rian Yuan, Managing Director PUB Consultant, to the stage to share about Singapore PUB's experience in water supply management. Please give a round of applause.
Hello. Yeah, good morning, everybody. My name is Ryan. Thank you to the organizers for inviting me to come and chat. I'm no stranger to Indonesia, Jakarta. In fact, before I came back to PUB, I used to work for the International Water Association. So I was working very closely with AMSI. So I came back in 2019 to PUB, and most recently I took on the role of Managing Director of PUB Consultants. So PUB Consultant basically is a subsidiary of PUB. Basically, we get all our hired PUB officers, experts who have many years of experience. And so under the PUB Consultants, we try to work with regional utilities to offer advisory services. So any of the PWs who are interested, want to reach out to us, we're happy to see whether experts to come. share and offer some advice in terms of how we manage our situations. Right? Okay. So a bit of context, I think was the just mentioned this morning. I think the situation in Singapore and Indonesia are very different. So today I'm here more to share about what we do to take away some lessons that we learned here. This is the pictures that we normally like to use to start off the presentation. So Singapore today, obviously you see it's very clean, very beautiful, very green. But I think as about 50 years ago, actually more than 50 years, we face situations like flooding, not having percent coverage in water supply, certainly in terms of sanitation and sewer, where so I mean it's just to show that actually mindset and with push achieve transform. That's what it is this morning. So a bit of context, we all know what Singapore is. We are about 66 million today, very intense, very highly populated. We are urban, we're fully urban, urban and an island and a city and a country all in one, like in Asia where you look cities, profit, bedroom, so many layers of bureaucracy, many layers of government agencies. So in a way, it's easier for us to work. But in terms of water, we rely very much on rain, about 2,000 millimeters of rain a year. So I think over the years, there's many reports to say that Singapore is under stress. So today, what I wanted to do is to talk a few things. Obviously, we don't have enough time to talk the entire story of what is Singapore. I wanted to cover a few things. Number one, in terms of how do we increase our resources. As I guess I'm going to mention this then resources. And after creating the water resources, how do you ensure that the gets treated and supplied? Customers. I think that is the second part. We talk about customers, there are domestic customers and non-domestic customers. So this is probably the scope of the issue. First and foremost, I just wanted to share with you PUB. We are one of the 3 agencies under the Ministry of Sustainability and Environment. So we cover all aspects of water, drinking water, wastewater, storm water, so recently seawater, protection, sea levels. We have 2 other agencies. One which is the National Environment Agency, which looks at clean air, land, and public health, and the other agency which is the Singapore Food Authority, that looks at food security. So all 3 agencies cover the system. So PUB, bit of history. We are where today's PUB was created about 24 years ago. 2001, the combination of different departments, the sewerage and drainage department, industry, and the water department. So in 2005, we constituted as PUB, where we are today, where we bring all the functions of drinking water, wastewater, stormwater, source water management as well into one agency. And so because of that, we manage everything integratedly as per water. I think that is really the key behind the transformation of the water sector in Singapore. We need to close the water loop where you don't see water as one side and wastewater as another side. It's two sides. Bring everything together into the loop so that because water becomes wastewater after it's used, but wastewater goes back into the river, reservoirs, and then gets retreated and reused. So we see that as a loop. And because of that, we are now able to introduce water recycling and desalination. So our mission is basically we want to supply good water want to reuse every drop of wastewater, want to also tame stormwater to prevent floods, and also to resist rising seas, to deal with sea level rise. So in Singapore's case, I think just now we mentioned national apps. So this is really the backbone behind the supply. How we ensure that Singapore has enough water. We have 4 taps. So the 2 taps drink water from local catchment, i.e. rainwater harvesting, and imported water are the weather-dependent sources. It is say when there's rain, we get rain. When there's no rain, when there's drought, these 2 taps become dry. And in 2003, we started introducing weather-independent sources, which is new water and desalinated water. And so collectively, this becomes a portfolio of water for taps. The sum total of the water supply of these taps currently is larger than what we actually need in Singapore. So you think of it like a bathtub, 4 taps. Each tap has a different cost. Because every tap has a cost, right? So the question is, how do you which tap do you turn on, make sure that our water is and some conditions, some considerations, for example, if there's no rain, then one of the taps may not be enough. For example, there's pollution that happens that affects the catchment. So we then use other sources, for example. And so that is the reason why we call this the 4 national taps, our diversification strategy, so that if need be, we can ramp up any one of these taps.
Gitu kan melihat ini yang kurang perhatian gitu. Bagi orang lebih.
Okay, so now I want to talk about water from local catchment. Local catchment. Okay. So in Singapore's case, you know, in the 1950s, I think 75 years, we only have 3
Beri duit segitu teh gitu buat
middle of the
diberi
island.
kembang.
But over the years, over the last 70, 60 years, we have expanded Singapore and made sure that 2/3 of the island is a water catchment. Meaning to say every drop of water that falls in the yellow and the green portion is collected and stored in the reservoir. Even though some of these places are built up, urbanized, it still capture the water, collect the water, because today's treatment technology is able to allow us to treat the water, even though the water comes in the urbanization. So that is the way we are able to expand our resources. We also expanded our reservoirs. So where we used to only have 3 reservoirs in the middle, the catchment, we now have total 17 reservoirs and all the tributary rivers leading to the sea end up in freshwater resources. One of the things that we were really, really proud of, and really again was also one of say the transformative journey of the story is the cleanup of the Singapore. So the Singapore River, as you see today, is it's beautiful, vast places. But in the early days, it was really a sewage pit, okay, because there were activities going on in pig farms. There was a lot of bamboos that were there. And so because that was the vision of the Prime Minister, basically did a whole master plan cleaning up the river, relocating all these polluted issues out of the river, creating this what today is and really that basically line relations precious really gives us a sense of pride. So I think that that story is saying because I think if you are able to expand your resources at every every drop that goes, that would right. Now then I would then go on to say that while we have done well, we are still not complacent. Today we are about while we are able to meet our supply today, our projection shows that in another 30, 35 years time, our water demand is expected. And the demand comes mostly from state side. So today is about 50-50. Domestic, domestic. So what we do about it, essentially what we want to do, as you can see, is to increase the drop, right? The drop, increase it, but we can't increase it indefinitely because so then where we use recycling, recycling consolidation. I want to talk a bit about recycling because I think recycling is a fantastic concept. In Singapore's case, we decentralize, right? How do we know that the demand is going to double? And how do we plan for this? I think there was a question about how to plan for demand, anticipate emissions. I think I wanted to just share with you that I think land use planning, water infrastructure planning in Singapore is part of the whole of government planning. So in Singapore's case, we have a land use planner called Urban Redevelopment Authority. So at the whole of Singapore level, there is a land use master plan that is developed in 5 years. So this land use master plan takes into the inputs of all the agencies, the economic agencies, land transport agencies, how many roads, how many MRT stations built, parks, how many green spaces, public housing, how many houses built, industrial, then the industries come in. So all these inputs go into the land use master plan. So for this land use master plan, we will know that, okay, for example, we're going to have a new town development as part of the island. We're going to have large data center as part. So based on all these inputs, then PUB looking in the next 5 years, when you build a new plant, when you install a distribution main, down this path, when you introduce maybe holding water line as part of it. And then thereafter, the water infrastructure. Besides the project, so the five is arising comes right? Okay, let's go straight to water demand management. Water demand management obviously is a very interesting thing. While we always supply water, right? Supply, then everybody just consume. On the demand management side, I think there are 4 things that we do in Singapore. Obviously, the first one is reducing distribution loss. Whatever we supply don't get to the customer is wasted. Right? So we should try to get as much water that we. But once you reach the customer, how do we encourage the customer to not use as much? The whole idea of pricing, education. Let's talk about distribution loss first. In Singapore's case, I think the last few years we have moved away from the concept of non-revenue water, while it's still a term that is being used internationally. We use the word distribution losses. Because distribution losses cover not only losses that are leaks, but also covers water that is used conventionally. For example, you flush the pipes, you use it for irrigation needs, and these are water that is also kind of used reduce the word distribution losses. And I think we are about 7%. And I think we are fine with 7%, because there's always a law of diminishing how much has been achieved. So I think we're at the 7%. I think we are okay. And how do we maintain at 7%? So we have 4 broad strategies. I will not go into detail. Obviously, accurate metering is important. If we can't meter and measure, can't build, right? And you also need to make sure that waters that are linking network is able to be connected, right? Network management is important as a utility. The technologies that we use, processes that we use, pipe materials that we use, is important for us to be able to build networks, bus, time, and lastly, legislation, which is easy to say but difficult, right? So metering, I will not go into detail, but it's essentially we do have calibration, testing, and operations as well. We do have a replacement meter replacement schedule. Our meter replacement schedules are actually small meters about 15 years, big meters about 10 years. I think it will come as a surprise to you all, because I think you all replace far more frequent than us. Traveling like Malaysia and Philippines, I think the replacement is 1 every 7 years, 8 years. There's a reason why we replace 15 years. It's also dependent on the quality of the water that you treat, right? So our water, we treat WHO standards. We say that we can drink the water from tap. So therefore, in terms of the quality, that actually affects the meters. If you have a lot of humidity materials in meters, that blocks up the meter, and therefore that's why so there is also a economies of scale. So we replace every 15 years and 10 years. Besides this, we also use a whole spectrum of instruments and tools for our network action. So obviously, at the center of this is a sensor, right? Voice sensors across our distribution main and transmission mains. But obviously, these are then entered some others that we use as well. Okay, planning design, we use proper materials, use ductile iron, cement lining, and time. We do also have a customer response center, so we probably and then send out. Okay, legislation is important. I will spend some time about this. We do have very severe penalties for illegal discharge. See that it comes with a jail sentence, fine and jail, as well as protection of pipeline. There are a lot of constructions going on, right? In pipeline. So it's important for us to have legislation to protect it. So it's by law that any contractor who is doing work activities within those pipeline must obtain the approval of it. And failure to notify or obtain the approval have fines. And any damages will also have fine and jail. So these are the legislation measures that we put in over the years, and you can see that it actually works. In terms of the damage cases, it's dropped by last 5 years. While the number of works around the vicinity has increased by 130%. So while more activities are going on around the pipelines, the amount of damage has dropped. And it's not just having the law, but we really bring people, redefine them, make them Okay, this is probably the most interesting slide. Normally, when I show this slide, everybody get very excited. Which is the tariff. So just now, Subati just shared your tariff is 6,000 pesos per meter cube. So that is 50 cents, Singapore cents meter cube, right? In Singapore's case, 4 months ago, we just raised our tariff. First game. So today, the consumer, whether you are domestic or non-domestic, you pay the same. You don't differentiate. Everybody pays the same tariff from the first drop, and it's currently today at $3.20, which is 41,000 rupees rupiahs per meter cube. But I want to mention that this tariff breaks comes in 3 parts. Number one, the tariff itself, price of water. I will talk about it later. Second one is the water conservation tax. So the water conservation tax basically is a tax on the water because government wants you to save, encourage you. So this is a tax that is paid to the government. This one goes to EPP. This one goes to government. Water bond fee is your wastewater collection and treatment. So every drop that comes in, you don't just pay for the water that comes in, you also pay for the cost of treatment that is needed to treat it. So this $1 is the treatment cost of wastewater. This is the production cost, right? And the $1.43 basically is looking at the projected cost of the next drop, not today's cost. It's about appreciated assets that you need in place, the new plant you need to build in. And so that's why I linked it to the water master plan that I spoke about. The 5-year forecast is investment, how many pipelines they need to build in. Then we will do the numbers, we'll present it to the minister. The minister will look at the numbers. The minister will expect us as a utility to make sure we are done in the costing, we don't overspend. We have some KPIs internally to make sure we are cost conscious. And then once the tariff by the cabinet, minister, the political masters front. Right? But obviously to support us as a utility, make sure that we can finance all the development, the assets, we can recover the revenue, make sure that Singapore always has. So that is the process. 2 other points. For large users, 40 meter cube, they pay a different tariff. They pay more in terms of tax, 50% compared to 65% pay more. So for more than 40 meter cube users, they pay about 55,000. And then for new water, which is supplied to industry, in Singapore's case, I didn't talk about new water, but maybe just to share with you, new water is a potable water replacement strategy for industries. So basically, we use new water to supply to the industry in place of drinking water. And so because of that target, we supply a pipe area, and then the industries there will take new water. And to encourage them to take the new water, we need to incentivize them by pricing. The companies that normally take new water want new water. This is high grade. Basically, industries okay, but besides this, we also do a lot of household engagement. We create water efficient home programs. People go down to the homes to help them install water saving devices in the taps. We give them vouchers, replace those flushing systems with water efficient ones. We also give them vouchers to purchase other fittings as well to shift out Okay. Schools as well. Children are the best influences when they go back home. So we do a lot of outreach to schools, also to foreign workers, domestic helpers. We have a lot of domestic workers. We have to educate them because they are always at home. They are always using the machine. So it's important to educate them as well. And some mandatory measures. So for example, we are introduced a TIC system in Singapore where all appliances, all water using appliances have TIC. More TICs is more saving more water for the consumer. So we encourage our consumer to buy appliances with TICs because to them is better in their pocket, right? They use less water every time. Okay, now I want to then talk lastly 5 more minutes to talk about non-domestic demand. So our non-domestic demand, as I mentioned, is increase as well. And in Singapore's case, while we have new water as a strategy, that is not enough. We still need to work very hard on domestic business. Help them, help us. Okay, so just to share with you in Singapore's context, our non-domestic sector, we have about 700 large water users. By large water users is defined as consuming more than 60,000 cubic meter per year. We have this 700, right? And of these 700, you will see that most of them are chemicals, wafer fab, semiconductor, a bit of data centers. So this is the group that we want to target because if we are able to help them to reduce the water footprint, that will really help us to solve the problem. So make sure. So what do we do? Again, we have water demand strategies, domestic regulation, building capabilities, recognition, and facilitation. Okay, so mandatory water efficiency measures. So since 2015, all large users, right, must submit a water efficiency management plan, EV, right, in terms of how much water they use, what's their water efficiency plan. So basically, we maintain and track them in terms of their usage. But besides this, since last year, 1st January, we have also now implemented a law that they are mandated, right, to do recycling. So minimum, for example, minimum 50% recycling with fat and recycling of specific streams. So this is mandated by law now. They have to do that. But obviously not just mandate, right? They will tell them what to do, right? And what are the solutions. So that's why we have the guides. You can compile some guides to show them how can you be efficient if it's biomedical, laundry, with your finance. So they have these practical guides that they can refer to, so what they can do. All these are open source website. Then we also fund them. We also fund them for implementation of recycling projects. If you are water efficiency project, if you want to implement a pilot with say technology company and technology that hasn't been implemented, or we want to adopt some efficiency equipment, or we want to do recycling, or if there are other ideas, QB will fund, whole fund project MPS. And then once they adopt and they are able to prove that they are able to use the water, then that's where we create awards. Minister will present the awards to the industry. Yeah, Singapore Watermark, Efficiency Award, and for buildings as well, water efficiency. So essentially, that is the whole journey that we bring them through in terms of getting the industries to be our partners. Because Singapore's case, the group really is right? That's where. Okay, and so that's my last slide. And before I end, I just want to maybe invite all of you, if you are available next year in June, come to Singapore International Water Week. certainly we'll reach out to ministry, policy, guys, trade delegation. Us with the event we have been open our doors. Sharing.
Thank you, Bapak Rian. Such an interesting presentation. I can see from the faces that all of participants has already have a lot of questions. Bapak Rian. Okay, now we will open for the two questions for the session. If there is any questions from the floor, please. Especially I can see from Bapak Dr. Subakti faces, you are so interested with the last slide from the water tarif ya Pak ya. Okay, there is any question for Bapak Rian?
I'll be here for lunch as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Pak Rian. From your presentation, I assume that you maintain the you are submitted. Maybe you could can give us the PDFs ready. It's a good option. Because, currently, we can see that a lot of service treatment that we already built is rated by the institution that's not quite capable. From my opinion, our opinion, PDM the institution should do the operation of the system. But we already know because the tariff, the wastewater is quite very low, not quite low, very low. You mentioned that your tariff is $1 per meter cube, right? In Indonesia, maybe the average is $1 per month. But I think if we maintain correctly and then the enforcement of the regulation, the operation of the wastewater will be also a beneficiary for the institution that practices. Maybe you could give us some tips, maybe overview how to plan this operation so the company will still survive with that kind of work.
I did not include my wastewater slides into this because you take another half an hour, right? But essentially, you are right. The issue here is not easy to solve, and it goes back again to the concept of the loop, right? And you will believe the loop, wastewater treatment and discharge is key strategy for you to ensure you have water supply. Because if you don't treat the water before discharge, you pollute the sources, and therefore you will have more problem treating the water for water supply. So if you see that, then you will see this wastewater collection and treatment as an integral strategy of water supply strategy and not separate. Because if you don't do this, your water get polluted, you will invest more money to treat water source become water supply. So I think that's the first thing that I think we need to, that it is not either or, is as a sum. Now, in terms of 2 points, number one, in terms of capability, so there are many ways. In Singapore's case, let me share with you. When we built desalination plant 20 years ago, we have capabilities, right? So what do? We do PPP, right? We do PPP with private sector, who have experience. But include in your PPP or capacity transfer, don't let the private operator just operate the plant and you just sit there. Right? You get your people go into the plant, learn from them. So as part of the transfer. So there's a deliberate knowledge learning transfer. So after the end of the session, or when you build the second plant, you have manpower, train, be able to operate the second. So the deep concept where you get a you do it plastic, right? At Hong Kong, there is always an street, because then that's when the sticker streets, and then you do it as a close business. Where you collect the waste material and then treat it. You don't not only treat it for discharge, treat it for use, and then you match it with sticker, which is then straight away that business model becomes viable. Because you already have the sticker, already pay for that you're going to treat the investment. That's what I talked about. The on-site recycling is, I think, because we have large waste treatment systems. We went down this route because our forefathers decided centralized. But in a brownfield site like Indonesia, we have, if you are able to aggregate that, but if not, then the lowest hanging fruit is on-site recycling, but you need to site it at the right place, where there is a mistake.
Marian, is there any more questions? That's already been answered.
Okay, thank you, Bapak Rian. Thank you. Please give a big round of applause for Mr. Rian. We would like to invite you back to your stage. In addition to sound policies and management practices, infrastructure financing will also be required to support the enhancement of Indonesia's water supply network. I would like to invite Ibu Gail Tan, Project Director at Infrastructure Asia, to the stage to share on water infrastructure project financing and public-private partnership.
Hello everyone, good morning. I'm Gil from Infrastructure Asia. I wanted to share about Infrastructure Asia and our tools for PM financing. And I would like to thank the co-organizers, Banco Infra, as well as Enterprise Singapore, for bringing all of us here together. And also thank you to my fellow speakers and everyone in the audience who has taken the time this morning to be here. So very quickly about Infrastructure Asia. As mentioned earlier this morning, we are a project facilitation office. We are actually set up by the government of Singapore and our parent agencies, Enterprise Singapore, which we all know, which is also an agency under the Ministry of Trade and Industry, as well as our Monetary Authority of Singapore, which is our central bank. So what we are actually set up to do is to bring together the financing as well as the enterprises together to catalyze infrastructure projects. We were set up to look at marginally bankable projects to see how we can bring in the right or harness the right people from our ecosystem to make these projects more bankable and attract the private sector. So what we really want to try and do is to crowd in the private sector to these different projects. So when I say the region, we are largely looking at Southeast Asia, but we have a few key countries that we are more keen on, which is definitely Indonesia, that's why we are here today, Philippines, Cambodia, and Vietnam. We also look at two countries in South Asia, which is actually India and Bangladesh. In terms of sector, we look at largely energy, logistics and transport, as well as water and waste management. So what we try and do is we try and connect the region's infrastructure needs to the best fit solutions and investments. So in order to do that, we definitely interact with the regional government and public sector agencies. So we do have an MOU with PTSMI as well as IIGF. So we work together with them in terms of looking at the pipeline projects and provide some high-level advice as to how it can be structured. we also definitely work with the private sector companies that are based in Singapore. So we work across the whole infrastructure value chain, including developers, financiers, banks, lawyers, consultants. Basically, everyone that you can find in the infrastructure value chain, we tend to work with them. So we know pretty well who is there. And what's different is that we are pretty agnostic. So we are happy to introduce a Japanese solution or Korean technology provider as long as they provide the best option and solution for your infrastructure or challenges. Yeah. And definitely in order to enable more bankable projects, we work with the multilateral development banks such as the World Bank, ADB, and AIIB, as well as the development financing institutions. So what do we do? What do we do? We build connections. So we connect the regional governments with the expertise and experience of the private sector in Singapore, as mentioned. We pride ourselves in knowing different private sectors in Singapore and what they are keen on and what they like to do. We provide high-level project structuring and advisory to improve the bankability of the infrastructure projects in the region. And we strengthen capabilities by collaborating with industry experts to strengthen the capabilities in the region. So an example of how we try and strengthen capabilities is this growing infrastructure course that we do. So the growing infrastructure course is a course that we run together with the World Bank as well as the Singapore Management University. And what we try and do is to equip the regional government officials with the knowledge as to how to develop and implement a project that is of interest to the private sector. Yes. So today, over 400 participants from 17 countries in Asia have participated in this course. And we do know that every infrastructure project is slightly different. So actually our course is run sector specific. So the last one we actually did on transport and logistics. And the one that's upcoming is going to be on sustainable financing. We did do a water and waste management run in 2024, just last year. And we shared about how to build sustainable water PPPs, the legislation frameworks that is required, what sort of government interventions are also required for such projects. And then you can see from the pictures, we also visited the Marina Barrage and all the companies in the region. So it's a very public-private, there's a lot of private sector interaction also, so that the sector can share about their challenges and really get first-hand info. So the Asia Infrastructure Forum is our flagship event. It's also one of our platforms that we use to build connections. So what we try and do is foremost platform for infrastructure players and thought leaders to discuss key issues and what's up for the future of infrastructure. But more importantly, and what's different about this event is we actually work together with our infra agency partners in the region. So for example, in Indonesia, it would be like PTSMI or West Java or IIGF, to understand what projects that they are looking at and what projects that they would like to bring to this forum. So what we have done is, we've worked with all infra agencies in the region to bring together projects and raise the awareness of these projects, share with the ecosystem in Singapore so that they can get early feedback on their projects and also get to understand what the private sector is looking for the different types of projects. So we actually showcased about 30 different regional investment opportunities worth over $20 billion. So to us, market sounding is also very important for a project and it's also one of the things that we do at our forum. So market sounding kind of helps to bring the public and the private sector together to reach the expectations. So the public sector may have certain expectations or they may put out a tender based on certain ideas that we might have with the private sector. But this may not necessarily be what the private sector wants. So what we try and do is to bring everyone together so that they can discuss and then fine-tune and hopefully both sides get what they want. So an example is this, I think you all might be familiar with this project, Jati Gede and the Sinubra water supply projects. So actually we did work together with the West Java province and PTSMI to bring it to our forum in 2021. That was the first time we heard of these projects, and that's about 4 years ago. It was pretty conceptual at that stage, but they did receive feedback from the developers and the financiers who were in Singapore at that time, who shared about the important considerations. And actually last year, we brought the same two projects again to our Asia Infrastructure Forum, and we could really see that the structure of the project has progressed. There's some tariff discussion that's more firm, and then how the plan and pipe works were going to be done. So there was more progress on the project. So what we want to do is basically using this platform, we want to promote market awareness, identify the interested developers, as well as seek feedback on the structure of the project. So with this feedback from the private sector, you can go back and then take it into consideration and decide how you'd like to throw out the tender for this project that would then bring in the right developers that you need. So another, we discussed about non-revenue water quite a bit. So we did do a non-revenue water webinar workshop. We did this together with C and the World Bank. Yes, and essentially it was a platform where we shared about the different types of non-revenue water solutions, as well as how the projects could be structured with different kingdoms, local governments, etc. And we did also follow up on the different projects with the different kingdoms as well. Need more information. Okay, so introduction to water financing. Basically this slide shows that the needs are rising, but private investment still lags behind. So even though developing countries have spent more than 160 billion on water, there's still a shortfall of more than 140 billion. But more importantly, less than 2% of this water and sanitation financing needs actually come from the private sector. So what this means is that if the projects or the water projects are better structured or more well structured, then there could be an opportunity to bring in more private sector to support the financing needs of these different projects. Let me share with you 4 different models to drive private sector participation into water projects. I think some of these models have been largely discussed today already. Yeah, so maybe you can look at it in terms of increasing control by the utility towards the right. So this concession basically means the private sector has a lot of autonomy in deciding what they need to do. They can design, they can build the plant, operate the plant, and even go all the way to collecting the water revenues if required. But what is important that the government needs to provide in such a model is they need to have good regulatory framework to regulate these different concession holders. The next one would be to design, build, and operate. So sounds pretty similar, but in this particular case, the private sector gets to design, build, and operate. You get to leverage off the private sector, but the government still needs to fund the project. So it typically comes in like a 20-year financing, availability payment, and the likes of that. So in this case, financing still comes in some form from the government. A more specific type of model would be a performance-based model, and this is quite common for the non-revenue water type of projects, whereby you identify a problem and you ask the private sector to work on it, but you don't really specify exactly how they need to work on it. You just give them parameters, ask them to meet certain performance requirements. So that's a performance-based model, whereby the utility still has some control, but gives the private sector some leeway as well. And the most control by the utility would be the service of this model. So in this case, basically the utility or the kingdom dictates exactly what they want the private sector to do. Everything is written out already, and then it says, please just provide this service. So this increasing operational control by utility, increasing all models are okay. It depends on the need of the kingdom. So anyone has any challenges in attracting private capital to your project? Oh, very good. Nobody has any challenges. But I just want to share, like, in order to attract private capital to your project, private sector investors are very keen on these 4 main things, which is basically a clear revenue and tariff model, pipeline of well-prepared projects, strong government support and financial guarantee structure, as well as regulatory and legal certainty. So I can share more about in the next slide. Yeah. So one of the very most important thing that private sector investors look for is good risk allocation. So good risk allocation is important because as a private sector, I'm not going to take on a risk that I cannot manage. So for example, a very common example is the separation of the treatment plant pipelines. the private sector tends to not really want to do the pipelines because there's a lot of things that are out of their control. So there's like meeting required, maybe even then problems happening along the way that is totally unknown and hard to mitigate. So they tend not to want this, but the plan is very clear. It's this boundary around it, and they feel that they want to do this. So this type of good risk allocation is very important, especially when you want international developers. Scalable projects with aggregate potential. This is important in some sense for water projects because some water projects tend to be a bit smaller in size and scale. So what really needs to happen is to be able to bundle these projects together so that it'll be interesting for the international developers because they still need to do due diligence on the project. They need to do due diligence on the country, the regulations, the policy. And they are not really going to do this if the project is only like what, 5 million. So the ability to bundle the projects together is important and a good pipeline is also important. So clear regulatory framework and PPP process gives certainty and assurance to the international developers and investors. And they will also know what they actually need to do, when they need to do it, what they need to prepare. So this is very important for them as well. Strong PDAM financials. So this is with regards to counterparty payment risk. I think it was briefly discussed before. So what we have seen recently is if like a financing institute like IIGF comes in to support the payment of the to provide a guarantee for the payment of the PDAM, then it sort of mitigates this particular risk for the international developers. Yeah. Good project structure, definitely either good offtake, minimum offtake or revenue guarantee or availability payment. Basically the structure must be there so that they understand how they are going to recover their investment. And then developers with good, strong track record shows seriousness and strength of the project. So one of the ways to enable bankability is through blended financing. So blended financing is a bit of a hot topic nowadays, but let me just quickly share some of the tools in blended financing. So essentially the first one is the most common tool for blended financing. And what we do is we try and combine concessional capital together with commercial capital. So concessional capital is basically capital that has the lower interest versus commercial capital. And by combining the two together, you reduce the overall cost of capital for the project. And this then helps to kind of mitigate some sorts of challenging projects that might have lower tariffs or are not so bankable at commercial rates. Yeah. The other structure is through the use of guarantees or insurance. So this is something like what I mentioned earlier, using IIGF to sort of provide a guarantee for the payment of the third and fourth versions are basically to support a well-prepared project. So you can do a feasibility study either based on a grant or either a technical assistance facility. But a well-prepared feasibility study is very important in terms of highlighting the different risks of the project. Every project has risks, that's fine and good, right? But highlighting the risk upfront and being clear about it is important because it allows the investor to price right. So they will not overprice because they are not sure about the risk, and then you end up with very expensive project. So by highlighting it upfront and being clear about it, they can price it right and take it into consideration. So two case studies. I think everyone's pretty familiar with this study as well. Is well documented in the news also. So I think this is based on the first type of blended financing, which is basically a concessional loan from Canada together with ADB. And this then provided the financing for this project on a blended basis. This is actually a water revolving fund in Philippines, and you can tell there's a lot of people involved in this particular structure. But basically, it doesn't detract from the use of concessional loans from like JICA together with the commercial banks combined together to create this water revolving fund and a blended finance rate that the LGUs can then use to develop their projects. So these are water revolving funds. So when the LGUs pay, then the money just run and round. But on top of that, there is also a guarantee to the banks, or commercial banks, should the LGU, there's also a guarantee of USD. Yeah. So, I mean, this is an interesting structure, something to consider if what you're trying to do is to try and increase the debt ratio of your projects. Okay, that's all I have. Questions?
Is there any question for Kelvin?
No questions is also okay.
Thank you again for the great presentation. How do you myself, as you mentioned, and so a lot of water and wastewater projects and this like desalination plants. So how does infrastructure issues kind of break that down that it can support that type of projects? Because not every project is involved with the 100 million. Right? So
I think what we try and do is we try and understand what your project needs to start off with. And on our part, if we do see similar projects that could possibly be bundled together on the pure financing, investor financing basis, we might be able to help package them together. In terms of getting an international investor to invest, not a developer, but invest as fund project. Yeah, so we could look at helping to fund projects together. Of course, we will discuss with everyone. So that's one possibility. The other ways is depending on what type of project it might be. We might try and see if there's a mid-tier or one lower tier fund that might be keen to invest on a smaller size project. So for every project size, there's definitely a fund that might be keen. It's just how many of these funds are available and what their risk appetite is.
is there any lower threshold for that? Is there any lower limit that below that infrastructure issue is not interested?
So for us, as long as there's a fund that's keen in Singapore, we would definitely be keen to support that because we kind of like represent the Singapore ecosystem in that sense. But generally, I think about 20 to 30 million could be around the limit. I think that less than 10 million is very challenging already. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ibu Gail, for sharing on project financing, which has provided valuable insight into innovative funding solutions.
I understand that you work closely with SMI. So in Indonesia, the PPP project, especially for water supply, is still kind of it's challenging, and maybe you have some new overview or some recommendation or maybe how to go forward for this situation. Our concern is that the contract project should be have a standardized contract that suitable for the condition of the project of water supply and the some spam water treatment and do you have kind of lesson or some pilot project that we can adopt for the position of
such a very challenging question too. Yeah. So I think yes, I agree that there should be it's good to have a standard contract for your PPP, but I also think that it could be a standard baseline contract, but every project is different. So you might have to see how you can bring together the right elements of the project. So what we tend to offer or support in this particular case is if you have an idea of what your project or the different local governments that are going to be part of this project, we can help to do a bit of like market sounding to help you understand what are the specific risks of this project. Maybe it could be a location determined also. It could be like how you we have bundled together the pipeline, how far away is the pipelines and things like that, and how that affects the cost, right? So we could help with in terms of helping with like the market setting, so that you can get a good sense of the private sector, what make it work for them, and then you can then incorporate that into your tender requirements with it. I think for the projects that we have seen in general so far, some of the challenges tariff is definitely one of the challenge. Yeah, so I think and that's and unless I'm not even sure if you can have a standardized tariff. But yeah, so that would be one of the that needs to be as well, and so like maybe like timelines of the different projects. So once you put it out there, we could be able to see how timelines can also because that create investor confidence and trust. Yeah, but I mean definitely happy to have another chat to see how we really can together on other of the projects that you might have that you can keep.
you. Thank you so much, Ibu Gail, for sharing about project financing and best practices. And please give a big round of applause for our speakers. And ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the formal sharing. I would like to thank you for your presence today. Not only adds significance to this occasion, but also reflects of our shared commitment to fostering collaboration and sharing knowledge in the field of water supply management. The next segment is networking over buffet lunch, which will be served just outside the ballroom. Each Singapore company will be stationed at one of the tables during the networking as shown on the screen. There will also be banners with more information of the Singapore companies, ST Engineering, Memiontech, Santar, SG Enviro, Hydrolib, and BW Water, showcased at the relevant tables. Please feel free to reach out the companies to ask further questions. And on behalf of Coordinating Ministry of Independent and Regional Development, we are pleased to invite you to the International Sustainability Forum, which will be held on October 2025. Okay. Please. Yeah, on behalf of Coordinating Ministry of Infrastructure and Regional Development, we are pleased to invite you to our international conference, International Sustainability Forum, which will be held on October 2025. And on behalf of the organizer, we would like to thank all our distinguished speakers, partners, and participants for your active engagement and valuable contribution. Okay. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we would like to invite you to our event, which will be held on 10 until 11 October, Indonesia International Sustainability Forum from Coordinating Ministry of Infrastructure. We hope you to meet all of participants there. And kindly scan the QR code to register. All right, a gentle reminder to all participants to return your electronic translators to the registration booth if you have used it. Thank you for joining today's workshop on Water Supply Management 2025, and we wish all participants are fruitful networking. We also look forward to your participation in future engagement platforms either in Singapore or Indonesia. Terima kasih banyak. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Please, ladies and gentlemen, would you like to take a group photo together? Just stand from your side, from your own table. Our photographer team will take a picture from the stage. Ya. Mohon izin Bapak dan Ibu berkenan untuk mengambil foto bersama. Oh, oke. Oke. We would like to take a group photo together. We would like to invite you to the stage. Everyone, all the participants, speakers, we kindly invite you to the stage and we're going to take a group photo. Bapak dan Ibu berkenan untuk bergabung bersama kami di atas panggung untuk berfoto bersama. Mungkin bisa dibantu oleh rekan-rekan panitia. Ladies and gentlemen, we kindly invite you to join us in stage to take a photo together. Bapak Ibu, okay, Bapak Ibu, please join us in front of the stage for a photo taking session. And our photographer team will assist with the arrangement. Bapak dan Ibu berkenan untuk berfoto bersama sebelum meninggalkan ruangan. Okay, we will take the photo on count 3. One, two, three. Okay, once more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you, Bapak Ibu. Okay, W sign. Or water sign, okay. 1, 2, 3. Give the best smile. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Bapak Ibu. Dipersilahkan untuk menikmati makan siang. Bapak Ibu, to all participants, to return your electronic translator to the registration booth. If you have used it, we would like to remind you, a gentle reminder to all participants to return your electronic translator to the registration booth if you have used it. Thank you.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Just a gentle reminder to return your translating device.